Welcome to Real Coaching Radio, the podcast for coaches by coaches. We are here to teach you how to get the most out of your clients and yourself. This is where beauty meets the beast, brains meet brawn, and science meets, well, bro science. Welcome to Real Coaching Radio. Welcome to today's episode of Real Coaching Radio. Today, me and Mark, we talk about the 5 big rocks for general health and fitness, I guess. In this episode, we talk around basically what are the things that you should focus on, which is going to keep you healthy, which is going to keep you kind of progressing along this health and fitness journey as such. So thank you so much for tuning in. But without any further ado, let's begin the episode. So, before we start anything, what is, at the moment for you, where do you think like your priorities are on things? Like, what do you think you're focusing most of your time and effort into at the moment? Because like, I think people kind of confuse, I know we're trainers obviously, but people think that we just constantly on top of our game training. And like, for me, I find that I've had people say to me before, like, you can't keep all the plates spinning at one time, like you can't keep all the balls juggling. But I sometimes find that if I'm on top of everything, on top of like my training, if like I'm on top of my diet, 9 times out of 10 I'm on top of most of my things.
Yeah. If I'm organised, I can spin some plates, man.
Do you know, that's what I mean? Like, I'm not sure if, like, do you find that there's ever anything that when something, like, is there one part of your life which will just like take over completely?
I guess work is probably the one thing, because work is what pays my bills. You know, like if I've got, you know, I've either got work to do and I need to train, you know, training is going to take a hit in terms of, not that I won't train, but my session might be a bit shorter so that I can focus more time on the work and the task that needs to be done. So yeah, I guess I just have less control over work to a certain extent, because me not training, well, I'm probably going to... So me not training, I'm going to disagree with myself here. So me not training only really has an impact on me, but then the kind of person that I become when I don't train is probably going to end up having an impact on other people. So
yeah, I'm very similar in that sense. Like, I need to train, and it's like the whole weekend I didn't train. So I didn't train Saturday or Sunday. Coming yesterday, I was just like, I just want to really crack on with some work. And so I didn't even end up training yesterday. So that's 3 days of not training, and that to me, like, that's a lot. Even if I was just to come in and do like a lighter session, like I'd normally still do something.
Yeah, that would probably be my limit. It's like, you're
that is
today, right?
Yeah, 100%. But that's what I mean. Like, that's my limit. Is like, and I'm not sure if people sometimes don't piece that together about training. Is that like, it's not actually about the initial thing that you're going for. Do you know what I mean? Like, we set our training plans out to do a certain thing. Like, I'm trying to build as much muscle as possible. Like, you're trying to get stupidly fit and stupidly strong. And like, it's programmed for that, but the other things that it helps is like, it's a lot. Do you know what I mean? It's not just the benefit for training. I think when I've had clients and I've kind of I managed to link what benefits they're going to get from training for the rest of their life. Yeah, that's when like you get someone who's like, all right, I'll constantly train now.
Yeah. Well, we had this conversation over the weekend, didn't we? I'm sure we did.
I think we did.
I certainly had this conversation over the weekend with one of the guys that are on the live experience day that we did, in terms of just how much, you know, I think when you train and if you do something difficult on a daily basis, it just increases your resilience in general, so that when difficult times come, you are more resilient to be able to get through those. I think, you know, experiencing hardship in a gym will have huge amounts of crossover to other aspects and other areas of your life that then become a challenge.
Yeah. Do you think that because you're kind of voluntarily putting your body under stress, that you learn how to deal with stress a bit easier?
I absolutely, yeah. I really believe you do. And then almost kind of like, you know, let's say as an example, let's say you yesterday, like, you know, you're really busy with work, but then in the gym, if you relate that to a gym environment, you know, you got like a big session to try and get through, like this session is going to be a bit of a challenge, but when you complete the session, you have this like sense of achievement afterwards. I get the same drive and the same outcome after I've completed like a big task at work.
Yeah.
Gives me the same kind of buzz, really.
I think I'm someone who just like, I'm fine as long as I keep going. As soon as I stop, like that's when I kind of, the wheels kind of fall off a little bit.
Yeah. So when you kind of said at the beginning, it kind of does about keeping all these plates spinning at once. I find that if they're all spinning, I can keep them spinning. As soon as one falls, 3 or 4 start to fall.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. Like, I find when I'm on top of everything, I'm good. Like, and I always think of like, you ever played Sims? I don't imagine you've ever played Sims.
No, I haven't. I know what it is.
Yeah, so you have like the little green bars down the bottom, which basically like it's different categories, and like you can try and fill these green bars up. So you have like hunger, you have like hygiene, sleep, social, work. You've got all of these different bars, and I find like if I can try and keep them all like up, like I'm pretty good at doing that.
Yeah.
But the one thing that normally throws me off is like as soon as social things start to increase. I think that's why I've struggled recently, is because like things are starting to open back up.
Yeah.
The amount of socializing we've been doing, not that I don't like socializing, but the amount of time that takes up.
Yeah.
The knock-on effect, for example, if I've gone out drinking, like, and I'm hungover the next day, it's that knock-on effect, which like that's what gets me. It's not when I'm concentrating on work and like I've got everything there spinning is fine. As soon as that social plate needs to start spinning, that's when I kind of I kind of drop out.
Yeah, I find that if I can keep them all going, I'll be able to keep them. I can keep them all going. But yeah,
and I think that's the one thing about, I suppose, health and fitness is when people say it's a lifestyle change. What we're talking about is like, how can we add health and fitness into your lifestyle to improve your lifestyle? It's not a case of going like, you're now going to have to just go to the gym 7 days a week. It's a case of saying, right, if I go and train, if I go to the gym, it's going to make me feel better because I'm going to be a lot healthier. I'm going to be able to play with my kids for longer. I'm going to be able to, whatever your reason is, whatever it's going to improve, like it's not just to look better. I know a lot of the times, and most people, majority of people come to the gym because they either want to gain muscle or lose body fat, or probably a kind of combination of the two. But the other things that it benefits, like it benefits your whole life. Like Mark said just then, like resilience, like it builds up your resilience. But for me, like mentally, if I've trained, I'm in a much better place. I can physically, like I actually feel more awake. If I'm knackered throughout a day and I train, I feel a bit better. I feel actually more awake. So there's a lot of other things that it benefits. And I think for general health as well, the social aspect's important for general health because it lets you blow off steam. It kind of gives you that little bit of release that we all need. And I suppose it's just like a balancing act of all of them. So for today, we want to talk about kind of the big rocks, I suppose the 5 big rocks for general health. And what do you want to start with?
Well, let's start with the chasing perfection one. Let's just start there.
Yeah. So I think the first one would probably be stop chasing perfection.
Yeah.
What would you define, and why is that such an important one?
Well, I think so. Perfection is probably going to look different to every individual, but I think, you know, like people are trying to create, whether it might be a workout on that particular day that's perfect, a workout over the week that's perfect, and kind of if things start to, you know, let's say you plan this workout, you plan this week of training, Monday to Friday, and in your mind it's the perfect training week. You get to Wednesday, something happens, and the plates stop spinning, and that's going to have ends up having a knock-on effect and an impact on your training week. I think if people are chasing perfection, their mind kind of, I have this conversation a lot with clients. People come to me and say, oh, I'm this all or nothing person. And I think we discussed this on previous podcasts. You know, I'm either 100% in or I'm 100% out. And I think if you're that type of person and you're then chasing perfection, as soon as it no longer becomes 100% in, even if it drops down to like I'm 95% in, people generally go to I'm now 100% out.
I've got a client on the weekend who spoke to me and just said, I'm going away from Thursday. Like, so my last training session would be Wednesday. But like, I've asked you for these more sessions, like going forward, but I'm not going to be able to fit him in. And you can feel like the stress that he's like under. And I'm like, it's okay. Like, yeah. I've kind of taken on what you've said in the previous, like, I'm now starring for people the priority workouts, and you say that's all you've got to concentrate on.
Yeah.
I don't do that for everyone, because for some people it's like you've just got to go to the gym.
Yeah.
And like the fact that like there's no point in me starring one of two workouts. Like, just try and get to the two of them.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
It's not going to be applicable to everybody.
But
I
think
think coaching, isn't it?
But that's the thing about the perfection bit, is like he was so stressed about it. And it was like, you could tell that it was proper bothering him.
Yeah. I used to be like that a lot with my own training. In that, you know, I was very anal about my training. It was very, this is what I'm doing. I'm only doing this. Like, if I train with somebody else, like, we're not deviating away from what I've got planned. Like, this is it. Just because my whole week was put together in terms of the exercises complement each other, the training days complement each other, and I didn't want to put anything else in there that was going to have an impact on it. Whereas I think it was last Tuesday actually, I had a super busy day, and I gave myself this window, just like, right, I've got 40 minutes to train, and that includes warming up. So I've got like 35 minutes to get a workout in. So I wrote this workout out, which included like EMOMs and AMRAP, so that essentially like I was just working off this clock. Yeah. So I started at 0, and I knew by 40 minutes I was done. And it actually ended up being, I actually really enjoyed it. It was a really good workout. But it wasn't necessarily the workout that I originally had written. I had to change it. But I probably ended up enjoying that workout more than what I originally had planned. And I don't necessarily think it was the workout. I think it was the fact that the workout was shorter, so that it gave me this time back to complete all these other tasks, rather than, because I know what I'm like, I got all these other tasks to complete, and then I want to spend maybe 90 minutes training, and all I'm doing whilst I'm training is thinking about this massive list of tasks that I've got to complete, and end up having either a really bad session or just building up so much stress during the training because of all this other work that I've got to do.
That's one of the things that I'm trying to work out now, is like, where I think this is part of the problem of being self-employed, is like, and running your own day, is just like trying to figure out, well, where do I do my private stuff? Like, is in training for me is like time away from work. I know obviously I like that is my job as well, but like my own training, when I do that, like it's my little breakaway. And I find like I'm finding it really difficult to kind of work out, well, when do I put these things in? Like, when do I train? Is it better training in the morning? Do I want to train? And it's like, it's really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I try and do that. I try and diarize my training. So I try and get it into a diary, but it doesn't always work, especially when you're busy. Like, you know, training doesn't take a back seat, because I do make sure I get it done, but that might mean I have to do it really early in the morning. It might mean I have to do it really late at night. It doesn't necessarily mean, you know, at 10 a.m. in the morning, I can just like switch off and go and train.
But that's the thing. So like, I think chasing perfection, I think a lot of people use perfection as a bit of a cop-out to not do anything. Do you know what I mean? And I think
absolutely, it's just like, you know, it's that kind of like, oh, if I can't do it perfectly, I'm not going to do it. Like just do it.
Yeah, I don't ever understand that mentality, because it's like it's always, for me, the people that make me laugh is when they go to the gym, right? And then, for example, later on, they're like, they have like a cookie with their cup of tea, and they're like, oh, I've just ruined all that progress. I'm like, you were gonna do that anyway. At least you've gone to the gym now. Like, exactly. And that's the thing that people don't get, is they have like, what what I'm trying to get with clients is a lot of times I'll get someone go, oh, I've relapsed for 2 weeks, or like I haven't been to the gym, and I'm just like, yeah, but that's fine. Like we can all fall off of the wagon. It's just, we want to try to get back on straight away. Like we don't want to use the excuse of like, well, I haven't done this week perfectly. I haven't ate perfectly. And it's like, well, no, but could you eat good? Like if you're doing everything perfect, like if you're going 100% all of the time, that means that like there's no room for you to live a normal life, and that means there's no room for when these things do happen for you to go, all right, well I can adjust. Like that's why we've spoke about a lot the 80-20 rule for a lot of things. Kind of it's huge, because 80% of the time if you're trying to do what's right, and then 20% of the time you give yourself that ability to kind of fall off the wagon, that's fine.
Yeah. So I think a good place for people to begin is just don't stop chasing perfection. Just start, or just keep going.
And the keep going bit brings us on to our second point, which is just be consistent.
Yeah.
Being consistent with health and fitness, i.e. eating in a healthier way, or eating in a way which you know is probably going to benefit you, and training in a way which you know is going to benefit you is huge. And the people that are the most successful people basically didn't stop and were just consistent.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like, again, take last Tuesday for me as an example. I could have quite easily, the amount of work that I had to do, like just not even train. But I know the knock-on effect that would have then had on me. So I was just like, right, well, I am going to train, but I'm just not going to do the original workout that I got planned. So I'm going to be consistent with my training. We all know, or if you don't know, you should know. Like, consistency is going to win. Like, even if you just did like 20 minutes of exercise 3 times a week, is better than doing 0 minutes of exercise 7 days a week. So just be consistent with what you're doing. Put it in your diary and just do it. Start turning that into a habit, and then hopefully it'll just become part of your lifestyle, as we said at the start.
That's the thing that people like. I understand for a lot of people who don't train, or are starting to train or trying to get onto this journey, like some people just genuinely don't enjoy it, which is why it's like, well, find something you enjoy, because then you'll likely stay consistent with it. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the biggest things that I'm always trying to speak to clients about, is like, what part of training do you like? Because what is the thing that's going to get you to go? Because I'm not really too bothered about how we get you from point A to point B. Like, the most important thing is, like, yes, you have these goals. You have these goals where you want to either like gain muscle, lose weight, or whatever it is. And whatever we do is going to probably push you in that direction. And I want you to start where you're going to enjoy, because that means you probably will pretty much stay consistent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and I think that's actually point number 3. Which is to do something that you enjoy.
Doing something you enjoy is probably, I'm really bad for this. I don't know about you, but like, so I've been training the same way for like 8 weeks. Mm-hmm. So my training plan's pretty much been the same thing. The like rep schemes and exercises may have switched out a little bit, but the format of the way I'm doing it, and like this week, I'm like, cool, I'm bored of that. And I'm literally like, and I think that was why I didn't train yesterday, because I was like, do I have to really do that? Yeah. And in my head, I'm thinking like, I want to rewrite my program. I want to rewrite this next couple of weeks. And I think that's something that, it's because I'm not enjoying it, I don't really want to do it.
Yeah. I think with the enjoyment thing, a lot of people see stuff on social media. They see other people doing something. They're just like, oh, well, this person's in good shape. So in order for them to get into good shape, this is what they must have done. Whereas it's probably not the case. So people start looking at what other people are doing, and then they start trying to copy and replicate what other people are doing, when actually, in actual fact, they've got no interest really in what that person is doing. They just want to look like that person. They want to be that person. So they end up copying whatever it is they're doing. They don't enjoy it, and they just end up God knows where. You
just get lost. I think that's the thing. If you don't follow what you enjoy, I think that goes for the whole of life, to be honest with you. Like, if you don't do what you enjoy, or at least follow the path that like looks most appealing to you, you are just going to end up being pissed off. Like, when I was in my first job, like, I kind of went into that because I didn't know what else I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And like, my parents were like, this is like, do this. like go and do this. And I was just like, yeah, but I don't know if I really want to do that. So like when I left school, for example, this is my two options. This is my two options. I was either going to go and fit CCTV cameras for my stepdad, become like a security engineer, or I was going to go to drama college.
I wish you'd have gone to drama college.
Those were my two options, and like that's and I'm kind of glad I hadn't done that, to be honest with you. But what I'm saying is like I went down the path which kind of was pushed onto me a little bit and not something I was really passionate about. And like the whole time I was in that job, I was battling with that the fact that I was doing something I didn't want to do. And I think that's the same with I think I'm like that with every aspect of my life. Is like a lot of the times the reason you're not consistent and the reason you're chasing perfection is because you're using those two things as a cop out because you're just not enjoying what you're doing.
Yeah. So like all of these points that we're talking about are all standalone individual points, but they all have a relationship with the other points. Like if you do something that you're going to enjoy, you are more likely to be consistent. If you don't necessarily chase perfection, you are more likely to be consistent.
Yeah. And being consistent is going to be the one thing that kind of pushes you towards your goals. And being consistent and setting yourself goals can be something which is really important as well. I find people will get aimless when they don't have a goal. I don't know about you. Like how do you feel with things? Like for me at the moment, I don't really have a goal. I just want to enjoy my training. Like it's almost as if you look at these points as individual points and just say like you need say 3 out of the 5 of the points that we make to actually get somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Like you need to be having 3 out of the 5 points on your mind while doing things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I quite regularly train for enjoyment, but I know for a fact that if I have got goals before, I do train. Probably I say considerably harder. I don't necessarily train harder, but just more meticulous training.
With the right intent.
Yeah, and kind of if I'm just training for just pure enjoyment, I might put some exercise in that just like I enjoy doing this. Whereas if I'm training for a specific event, I'm just like, well, if it's not really going to help me with that event, I could probably spend 20 minutes rather than doing that. I could probably spend 20 minutes doing something else that is going to benefit me.
The ski and thruster workout comes to mind here.
Yeah, probably won't do that again.
That's not something you enjoy, but
no. Well, in a weird kind of way, I did enjoy it, but yeah, I didn't enjoy it enough to do it regularly. That's for sure.
I just think like I think doing something you enjoy ultimately will be the biggest thing for everyone, especially if you're only just starting. Like if you're an athlete or you do have a goal in mind, then pretty much that's going to be the thing that drives you. Yeah. If you're just starting and you're not really sure why you want to start, you just kind of, well, I'm fed up with how I look. Like don't feel too good. I hear Mark and Charlie saying that health and fitness is going to help me. Like, I don't know where I should start. It's like, start with whatever appeals to you. And then from there, you can start to explore things. And setting goals after you've kind of got what you like and things like that. That's probably the best way. I think that's why you see a lot of people come through your PT courses. They'd have fallen in love with fitness through some way, shape, or form. Yeah. And then through then the PT course, they learn about all these different ways of training. Yeah. And I think that was when we sat here and did our course when I was on it. And you have me coming from a bodybuilding background, you had Neil coming from a CrossFit background, and I remember like the conversation having back and forth. Like he's got one view solely about CrossFit, and I got one view which is like coming from this bodybuilding world background. And it's like over the course of the past year and a half, like I've learned how much benefit you can get from functional fitness. And I think like if I went into this just like, no, I've only got this one way of training, like if I'm just going to stick with what I know and what I enjoy, like I'd have never learned these other things. And I think that's something which you guys can take into consideration is like, I know what you're doing now may be what you really enjoy, but is that because that's the only thing you've ever done?
Yeah. And I do think that if you ensure that you're doing something that you enjoy, you will become much better at it. So, take like weightlifting as an example. If weightlifting is something that you enjoy, it's like a snatch and a clean and jerk, and even if it's just twice a week, you attended a weightlifting class, but you went every week, twice a week for a year. Even if you, on day one, you'd never picked up a barbell, like in a year's time, you'll be in such a different place
Yeah.
in terms of the way that you move, the way that you could handle a barbell. Like, not even worrying about how strong you've got, but just your increasing coordination, your increasing body awareness, the fact that you're doing something that you enjoy, and the likelihood is that you probably will have got stronger. But if you're kind of, again, if you're like this person who's, oh, I really want to do weightlifting, but you know, I'm seeing all these programs out there, these weightlifting programs, they're all like 5 day a week training programs. I can't train 5 days a week, so like I'm probably just not even going to bother. In a year's time, you're going to be in the same place that you're in now.
I've had a strange conversation with someone recently about that, in the fact that, like, if you want to get into a better place, like if you don't like the place you're in now, it's like, well, what can I do to get better? What can I do to improve? And the weirdest comeback to not doing something is because, oh, well, it's going to take me 2 years to do that. And like, it'd take me 2 years to get that qualification. And I'm like, but if you don't do that, you're not going to get any closer towards that, which means you're going to be in exactly the same place in 2 years' time.
Yeah, that 2 years is going to pass.
That 2 years is still going to, that time is still going to go. Yeah. And I think, like, as I got older, like, and I speak to people who are older than me, people go like, time just flies. Like, it gets to this point where, like, you don't even realize years are just passing. And like, do you really, really want to be kind of using the excuse of like, oh, well, that's a lot of work, or it's going to be 2 years? It's like, yeah, but that time's not that, you're not going to get that time back.
Yeah, you're not pressing pause and be like,
when I'm ready, I'll do it. Like, when I signed up for the course, like, I literally was sat there just going, oh, I don't know if I should do it. I don't know if I can afford it. And I was just like, oh, fuck it, I got no choice, let's do it. And like, if I decided, which, because like part of me was like, I was going to start in the October, I started in the October course, and there was a course like in the next January or something, and I was like, oh, which course should I do? If I wait till January, I'll be and I was like, oh no, I'll just do it now. And if I didn't do that then, I wouldn't be sat here now.
Possibly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, you have to start to take the opportunities that come towards you. And I suppose that probably leads us on to the point of chasing progress.
Yeah.
Continue to chase progress. Continue to want to progress.
Yeah. And I think it's understanding what that looks like, what progress looks like. So I think for some people that, one great way to progress, if it's resistance training as an example, is to just obviously make a note and track what it is that you're lifting, and where possible, try and add more weight or do more reps with the same weight that you've been using. However, that is like not necessarily always going to be possible. So as an example, so last week I had a bit of a deload week in my training, my resistance training, but the week previous to that I did some real heavy back squats, and the last rep that I did was like, it was okay, but I wasn't particularly happy with it. So whereas this week, so yesterday I squatted, and my rep schemes have changed and my sets have changed. So theoretically, I should have gone heavier than what I did 2 weeks ago. However, this cycle of training that I've got is going to last 5 weeks. So I was like, well, I wasn't particularly happy with what my last rep looked like. So actually what I'm going to do this week is I'm going to stay at the same weight, and I'm going to make it look and feel better. And I left that squat session yesterday feeling really happy with how it went. But I also know that, well, I've still got 5 weeks in this training block, so I can still surpass like what I was at 2 weeks ago. So I can still progress. So progress doesn't necessarily always have to mean you're doing more weight, you're doing more reps. Sometimes it can be, it looks better, it moves better, it feels better. I mean, I know they're like not as tangible metrics as I lifted more weight. However, again, go back to some of the previous points we've spoken about. Stop chasing perfection and be consistent. I could have yesterday just put more weight on the bar, and potentially, in my mind already, I was like, I wasn't happy with how my last set looked. So in my mind already, there's like these negative thoughts. I could have gone heavier and potentially failed the reps And then the rest of my session just would have been miserable because I'd have been in a moody place.
Yeah, I think that's what people misunderstand about progress when they are someone who is always on or always off, because they think that progress has to be this linear thing, and they think that if they go out on the weekend, or if they miss a training session, that, well, that's it, like that's everything, like, over and done with, and like I'm not progressing anywhere. And I had the conversation with one of my clients, and I was just saying to when she turned around and was like, I was like, let's move your sessions down to 3 sessions a week. You're doing 4, you're really struggling to get 4. Like, let's go down to 3, and let's just make those sessions really good sessions. And like her question was like, well, will I still be able to grow my glutes as quick? And I was like, of course you will. I was like, because the progress here is consistency, because a really good program done inconsistently is nowhere near like even a poor program done consistently. Like, the consistency will be the biggest thing in results, but the progress we're making there is the mindset, which means that when she has a session in, she's got this time allocated, which means that this other time when she's maybe too busy with work, or she's got these family things going on and she can't make it to the gym, but she's stressing because she can't make it to the gym. Like, the progress we've made there is the fact that when you're doing everything else, you don't have to worry about the gym, because you know you can definitely hit those 3 sessions. And like, those are the different types of progress. And I think that's, it's hard to see on yourself sometimes. It's really hard for you to see the own progress you make. But like, when I turn around to some of my clients, like when I started with someone, when I first started, and I wanted them to look at their diet, there was no chance in hell of them looking at their diet. And it wasn't until like a year went past that they decided, oh, okay, like now I'll actually look at my diet and I will try and do something here and try and improve it. And that's a year of me working with them, and a year of me like constantly explaining why it would help, constantly explaining how it's going to aid their goals. And like the progress that person made in like the years was the mindset. Like, yes, they may not have made as much progress throughout that time as if they would have if they went and just decided, oh well, straight from day one I'm going to start to like look at my diet. Like, if they started to change it from day dot, then obviously we'd have been a year down the line and their diet would have been 10 times better and they'd have been way closer to their goals. But like, progress isn't just this straightforward thing, and it does look different to everyone.
Yeah, and I think you've got to look at the big picture. You've got to play the longer game. So again, take my squat session yesterday. In my mind, I wasn't really focused on, I was very focused on that session yesterday, but in some ways I also wasn't, because the fact that I didn't reduce the weight, I kept the weight the same, but I did less reps. But my head wasn't there. My head was, well, I can start here, but in 5 weeks' time, I'll be here. So again, like, you're playing, okay, 5 weeks isn't a long game, but you're looking further into the future and looking at the bigger picture.
Delayed gratification is something which we could all probably get taught at a young age. Just how much beneficial it is to actually take a step back, take a breath, to like to think about, like, do I want this now or do I want this thing in the future? Yeah. And I suppose that's why, like, having your values aligned with your goals and then aligning your life to kind of achieve those goals is probably going to give you the most satisfaction, compared to just deciding, oh, well, like, I'm a bit lost, so I'm just kind of going to do anything and everything, or I'm going to do what appeals to me right now. Like, and I'm not saying it just on a health and fitness point of view. Like, on all life, we do things where we invest in money, for example. Like, you invest money in it, it's an initial cost, but like, you have the hope that you're going to earn more money on that in the future. And we understand that in the money, like when it comes to money, but we didn't necessarily understand it when it comes to like ourselves and our own goals. Like, where could you be if you decided now, like, right, this is the goal I'm going to aim for, and this is what I'm going to do to get there. Like, and you're going to just consistently go through each of these little steps, and it's going to kind of push you along that path. Being consistent and like kind of sticking that path out would be such a huge thing. Yeah. So for you then, probably what you did in your squat session was listen to your body. Yep. Which is our last point. Yep. Listening to your body. Why is that such an important thing for people?
So, 'cause, at the moment we've spoken about constantly doing stuff, if you like. So, like being consistent, tracking progress, doing something that you love. I think it's also important, because these things are going to help you stay consistent, to understand when it's time for you to maybe take a day off from the training, or go into the gym and just do something a little bit lighter. Understand that there's so many other stressors that are on your body, whether that be training, work, family, just day-to-day stuff that's happened on that particular day, whether it might be traffic or whatever it might be. All of these things are going to use resources from your body, and they're going to accumulate over time. There's going to be times where it could actually be detrimental for you to go into the gym and really start to push the envelope. Now, I'm not saying maybe, having a day off might be the right thing, but what also might be the right thing is still going into the gym rather than doing, I don't know, an hour and 15 minutes of training at a higher intensity and hard, heavy weights. You might do 45 minutes of training of something that's a little bit easier and a little bit more moderate to give yourself a little bit of recovery. So understanding your own body of when it's time to push and when it's time to back off. But I think the clear thing we need to try and understand is just like, well, is it time for me to back off, or do I just need to suck it up and get on with it?
It's you have to be extremely self-aware to answer that question yourself. And it's a really good task to try and guess, like basically question yourself, like, and ask that question when you decide, I'm not going to go to the gym today. I did this last night. So I left here and I was going to go to the gym. I was going to go train, and I had legs to train, and I was like really tired. Been out the weekend, still kind of feeling it. If I'm honest with you, I'm still tired. And I was like, I suppose I could just go to tomorrow, because like if I go today, like this is how I talk myself out of going. I was like, I'm not going to go today because I'm tired and that might ruin me for the rest of the week. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go home, I'm just going to chill out, I'm going to eat some food, I'm going to do a little bit of work, I'm going to just like watch some TV, and then tomorrow I'll start and we'll get on top of it. Now, like part of it's true, like I could have gone yesterday and it could have thrown me backwards. But at the same time, like, was what I feeding myself what I wanted to hear, because I didn't actually want to go train? Like, what is the genuine reason there? And for me, like, I'd probably say it was 50-50. I probably said I could have gone either way. I probably could have gone to the gym and I would have got a session done and I would have got through it. And then I would have probably slept last night and been fine. Like, woke up this morning. But then the other part of me was just like, I couldn't be bothered. But so like trying to decipher, like, was that me being a bitch, or was that me just going, actually, like, no, this is what my body needs? Like, it's really difficult because there is a fine line there.
There is a fine line, and the thing is, more often than not, you might make the wrong decision.
Yeah, always.
But that brings us almost back to point one of like, stop chasing perfection. Just like, well, okay, so last night, potentially you could have trained and you could have got up this morning and you could have felt absolutely fine, and it might not have ruined you for the weekend, for the rest of the week. All right, but that's done now. It's now Tuesday morning. So we're not in the game of chasing perfection. We're just like, well, let's just get back on it now.
Exactly. And that was my that was my thought this morning when I woke up, was just like, sometimes you do need to pull yourself, to give yourself that break and not be so hard on yourself. But you also need to at sometimes like go, right, come on, let's get on top of this, let's do this. Because I think that's where some people real struggle, is to just make a decision which is going to be the best thing for you. Like, it's really hard if you're someone who's like, you do need to just question first, like am I an extremely disciplined person, and will it give me more stress and more anxiety to not go to the gym? Because like some people, like, they have to go to the gym. If they don't, it kind of, it really plays on their mind, and like they hate having the red X's next to their workouts. Like, if you're one of those people, you may need to practice taking a step back. if you are one of those people, like me and Mark speak about it all the time, like we need to find a better way to switch off. Like we need to find ways to just disconnect from work, just disconnect from things. And I think maybe something I need to start trying more really is to do that. But because I know what type of person I am, like it's a lot easier for me to guess that. Whereas if you are someone who's like, are you someone who, for example, like has worked out that you've managed to have 8 hours of work paid by just sitting on the toilet? Like, are you one of these people that have just like will happily kind of take a little bit more than you should and happily take breaks where you shouldn't? Because like maybe you are the type of person in those situations that should go, well, actually this is probably me just copping out. That's the difficult conversation to have, because it's like, you just seen what I did to myself last night. I convinced myself otherwise. I gave myself reasons otherwise why no, resting is the right thing for me. And that's why like this is really difficult, but you need to like be able to, when it does happen, when you do fall off the wagon, okay, sound, well, tomorrow or today, that's it, I'm right back on.
Yeah, well, you're just like calling out your own bullshit, aren't you? You know.
Yeah.
Like, but that's a hard pill to swallow for some people.
I think that's something which everyone should do more.
Yeah.
Like I call myself out on a lot of things. Like a lot of times I don't do, like at the moment I'm going for a stage where like motivation levels for me are probably at an all-time low. Right. I'm still doing stuff. I'm still kind of getting things done, but I don't have any drive in me, which is like, let's go do this next thing, or let's get onto this. And I'm finding that really difficult to kind of.
But then I think that brings us back to some of the stuff that we've already discussed in terms of, you know, learn to listen to your body. So like, kind of, people will have times where it's kind of, you know, I'm just gonna be in this present moment for the next couple of weeks. I'm not really gonna try and venture into doing anything new. I'm not gonna try and make anything necessarily better. I've just got this really harsh period where my aim is to almost survive it and get through it, knowing that when I come out the other side of it, I'm going to be in this completely different place and I can start to push the envelope and I can start to do new things. So again, that comes back to things like not chasing perfection. You're not always going to be able to do new things. So, you know, there might be time periods that you're experiencing right now, but the important thing for you right now, as an example, is one of the points that we've always spoken about is like still be consistent. So like you said, you're still doing stuff.
So over all the things we've just said, like really try to work out kind of which one of those points that you need to get better on. Because I think that's something that I need to look at as well, is like I really enjoy my job and I really enjoy what I do, which probably makes it a lot easier for me to be consistent. And I think that maybe part of the reason that someone listening could not be consistent is because maybe you just don't enjoy what you're doing. Maybe you just don't enjoy the training that you're doing. Maybe you just don't enjoy what it is you're doing. So have a look at those 5 points there. Stop chasing perfection, be consistent, do something you enjoy, chase progress, and learn to listen to your body. Like, which one of those do you need to get better on, or which one of those is the reason that is the thing that's holding you back, I guess. But I do want to say, like, thank you so much once again for tuning in. Me and Mark are gonna try to stay consistent with kind of releasing every Friday. It's really difficult, we're really busy, but we'll get there. And if you do want to get in touch, if you do want to kind of ask any questions, then you can email us info@realcoachingradio.co.uk. Anything else, Mark?
No. Be consistent.
Be consistent. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Real Coaching Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Real Coaching Radio. If you want to get in touch or ask any questions, please send an email to info@realcoachingradio.co.uk. If you're interested in joining the coaching world or enhancing your education, please head to www.myptcourse.com. There are level 2, level 3 and level 4 courses that will get you started in your fitness career. If you want to connect with us, you can find myself at Hack the Body, Hack the Mind on Instagram. You can find Mark at Mark Origin Series on Instagram. Real Coaching Radio, we're also there. Just type that in the little search bar, you'll find us. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to share this with any friends, family, any people that are looking to get into health and fitness, maybe people who want to become coaches themselves, then please, by all means do that. You can also leave a review. I think iTunes is the only one that you can leave a review on. I don't think you can on Spotify. I suppose you could screenshot the Spotify and tag us in it. That would always be great. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Real Coaching Radio.